Hello and welcome to EOC Practice Test 2 Video Explanations. Now hopefully by this point you've answered all of the questions on the actual practice test and you have those questions right next to you so that when we go through these test items you can correct any errors that you may have made. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, number 1 says, Kylie sat in the meeting hall and listened to different candidates for her state's open Senate seat. The candidates debated on their positions on issues. When election day came, she voted for the candidate she thought would best serve her community. What form of government does Kylie have? Important here, right? She's voting for a candidate that is going to represent her community. Now, it's very important that you pay attention to those words because this is going to be a representative democracy. Now, Kylie is voting for someone who will then again vote for her interests, all right? So the answer here is going to be B, a representative democracy. 2, which compromise gave the U.S. a two-house legislature in which Congress currently operates? The answer here is C, the Great Compromise. Now, the Great Compromise took the Virginia plan, which favored larger states, and the New Jersey plan, which favored smaller states, and put them together into one. So the Virginia plan was representation based on population, which is the House of Representatives present day. The New Jersey plan was equal representation, which is the Senate present day. So they took that and they created a bicameral legislature, meaning a two-house legislature, and this is all because of the Great Compromise, C. Number 3, which group could be described as pro-states' rights? Okay, so B is the correct answer, all right? So if you are anti-federal, right, that means that you are anti-federal government. In turn, that also means that you are pro-state, all right? So your anti-federalists are going to be the correct answer here, B. 4, this region of colonial America relied largely on plantations and slave labor. So when you go back to this question, you want to make sure that you know the differences between the New England colonies, the middle colonies, and the southern colonies. The answer here is C, large plantations, a lot of slave labor, a lot of agriculture in those areas. So again, the answer to number 4 is C. 5, which branch of government can declare a law unconstitutional? The answer here is C, the judicial branch. Now, key word here is law, right? And also unconstitutional. The power of the judiciary to rule a law unconstitutional is basically their value in the system of American government, right? They basically can take any act of the legislature and declare that unconstitutional, say that it violates the Constitution, and in turn that protects Americans. So the answer here is C. Number 6, this level of government protects the country from a military attack. Answer here is B, the federal government will do that. Now, it doesn't make too much sense that the state of Florida would protect the entire nation from an attack. Obviously, that should be the job of the federal government. They have more resources. They have more ability to enact certain things and technologies and stuff like that. So the answer is B. The federal government is in charge of protecting America from a military attack. 7, a blank to the Constitution is the only way a Supreme Court decision can be overturned. All right? The answer here is going to be B, an amendment. All right? So if the Supreme Court says something, basically, the only way to reverse that would be to pass an amendment to the Constitution. So the answer here is B, amendment. 8, this Supreme Court case ruled that suspects must be aware of their rights. This is A, Miranda v. Arizona. So if you ever heard, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Blah, blah, blah. Basically, every single cop show that you've ever seen. Those are your Miranda rights, right? And this case specifically says that people who are being taken into custody or are suspects of some sort of crime must know their rights before you bring them into custody. Answer here is A. Number 9, blank is the spending of government funds. So the answer here is D, appropriations. What that means is literally just spending money. 10, which amendment abolished slavery? The answer here is D. This is going to be a recall question. The 13th Amendment formally abolishes slavery. All right, so again, you need to make sure that you know your Civil War amendments, 13, 14, and 15. The 13th abolishes slavery. The answer here is D. 11, this amendment provided women's suffrage. Now be careful here, all right? Women's suffrage means women's right to vote, not women's suffering. The answer here is C, the 20th Amendment. All right, so the 20th Amendment allows women to vote. 12, this person is the leader of the House of Representatives. This person is D, the Speaker of the House. So the job of the Speaker of the House is to lead the House discussion. Obviously, the majority party is going to be able to decide who the Speaker of the House is. The answer here is D. Okay, so let's take a look at number 13. The writ of habeas corpus prevents a person from being detained without A, appearing before a judge. All right, so you can't be actually placed in jail without knowing why you're there. And normally you know why you're there when you get arraigned in front of a judge. Answer here is A. 14, police must show reasonable suspicion or probable cause that evidence of a crime will be found in order to obtain a search warrant. All right, So again, you're innocent until proven guilty. You have the Fourth Amendment right to protections against unlawful searches and seizures. So the police must show either reasonable suspicion or a probable cause that a crime has been committed in order to even basically obtain evidence to prove their cases. 15, in the civil case, who has the burden of proof? The answer is B, the prosecutor. In all court proceedings, whether it's criminal or civil, the prosecutor, the person that is prosecuting the defendant, has to prove that there is guilt, right? Again, you're innocent until proven guilty. That is what the burden of proof means. So the prosecutor's job is to prove guilt, right? Because without that, you're deemed innocent. Answer is B. 16, a person convicted of a crime can file a blank if they feel their due process was violated. The answer here is B. So any person that is convicted of a crime at the district level, basically, can appeal that if they feel like their due process was violated. So this could be, evidence that is admitted illegally, or maybe, the judge made an error somewhere. All of those are grounds for an appeal, and that would then push that case up to the appellate level. So the answer here is B. 17, which court case has original jurisdiction in most cases? The answer here is A, district court. Now, if you picture the court system like a triangle, right? The district courts will be on the bottom, the appellate court will be in the middle, and the Supreme Court will be on top. That bottom level is the largest level, right? The majority of the cases that go through the court system will be going through the district court because they have original jurisdiction. Now, the second level up is the appellate level, a little bit smaller, and they see a little bit less amount of cases. And then the top level is the smallest, which is the Supreme Court, which sees the least amount of cases. So the answer here is A. 18, a filibuster only occurs in the Senate, all right? So the Senate is the only house in the legislature that can filibuster a bill. Now, again, filibustering a bill is literally standing up in front of the Senate and talking the bill to death. This is to delay a vote. It's for political reasons, basically. But because the Senate only has 100 members and the House of Representatives has way more than that, the Senate is the only house that is able to filibuster a bill. The answer is D. 19, name given to major crimes. Major crimes are known as felonies, all right, or a felony. This is basically a definitional question. You just need to know what the definition of felony is. It's a major crime. 20, which principle of government best aligns with the Magna Carta? Now, anytime you see Magna Carta on a test, all right, especially the EOC, the answer most of the time has something to do with the limited government, all right? So what I want you to have in your head when you're going through the EOC is the fact that anytime you see either limited government as a question or the Magna Carta as the question, the answer is going to be the inverse. So this question is asking us about the Magna Carta, the answer is going to be limited government. If the question was asking us about limited government, chances are the answer is going to be the Magna Carta, right? That is the purpose of us teaching this in class, is because of its establishment of limited government. Answer here is D. 21, what is one main difference between federal and state governments? So, answer here is B, only federal governments can coin money. Think about if every single state had their own currency and then you went on a road trip. Let's say you drove from Florida to New York. Every single time you had to fill up your gas tank in a new state, you'd need a new currency. That seems super unreasonable and inefficient. So the answer here is B, only the federal government can coin money. Okay, and then coining money just basically means producing money. 22, read the quote by James Madison. So, the accumulation of all powers, legislative, executive, and the judiciary, in the same hands, whether of one, a few, or many, and whether hereditary, self-appointed, or elected, may justly be pronounced the very definition of tyranny. Okay, what principle of government is Madison talking about? Okay, so he mentioned the legislative, executive, and the judiciary. That should clue you into something, all right? Whenever we mention this, those three branches of government, chances are we're talking about separation of powers, all right? So Madison's basically arguing, hey, if you don't separate powers and you put them all under one roof, that is the definition of tyranny because there's no check on the other powers of government. Answer here is going to be C. 23, the Northwest Ordinance. Okay, answer here is B, provided a plan for admitting states to the Union. It also did other things, but the biggest success of the Northwest Ordinance was basically providing a plan for all of that territory in the West, how to parcel it up, and how to admit that into the United States of America. Answer here is B. 24, lines of latitude. Measure north and south of the equator. Think of latitude like a ladder, right? Ladder has two sides, but it also has rungs that go up and rungs that go down, right? When you're on a ladder, you can either travel up the ladder, north, or down the ladder, south, right? So what do lines of latitude do? They measure north and south of the equator. Very important. 25, read the quote from John Locke. The only way whereby anyone divests himself of his natural liberty and puts on the bonds of civil society is by agreeing with other men to join and unite into community for their comfortable, safe, and peaceful living amongst another in a secure environment of their properties and a greater security against etc. Okay? Locke is most likely talking about what? So, whenever you hear John Locke, the answer is probably going to be something along the lines of a social contract, right? One of Locke's biggest benefits or contributions to the Constitution and American society is the idea of the social contract. So the answer here is going to be D, the social contract. 26, Daryl goes to his polling place on election day and casts his vote. This is an example of a responsibility. Now, you don't have to vote, right? Should you? Absolutely, right? That's the purpose of being in a democracy, is to be able to voice your opinion. The most efficient way of voicing your opinion is by casting votes on election day. So the answer here is going to be C. 27, Make America Great Again and Yes We Can are examples of what form of propaganda? The answer here is B, glittering generality. So a glittering generality sounds really good, but it legitimately means nothing. So what does Yes We Can mean? Provide me a definition. You really can't, but does it sound nice? Absolutely. Same thing with Make America Great Again, right? It's basically these hollow sayings that sound great but don't mean much. 28, which statement best describes a citizen? All right, so by definition, a citizen is a legal member of a country. Now, this is a definitional question again. You need to know what a citizen is by definition. Answer here is A. 29, James was born overseas while his parents were visiting Trinidad and Tobago. Both James's parents were born overseas and he became a naturalized citizen before James was born. What is James' citizenship status? Answer here is B. James is automatically a citizen due to the law of blood. So, because both of James's parents were citizens, okay, James is now a citizen because of the law of blood. So if your parents are citizens, you're automatically a citizen. If you were born on U.S. territory, that's the law of soil, you're a citizen as well. Answer here is B. 30. The Electoral College elects the president, right? Each state gets a certain number of electoral votes. There are specific electors that represent those electoral votes. They cast their actual electoral votes in December based on the popular vote of the state. But the bottom line is B, the Electoral College elects the president. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, reach out via email at govdogs@gmail.com. Have a great day.